There are going to be very few people saved on that day when Jesus comes again in glory. Very, very few. And Jesus actually says that. He says there are going to be few. He said to enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter through it. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Few. Friend, do you want to be one of the few? You know, it's not a self-declaration. You just can't declare yourself to be one of the few. Jesus says we have to strive to be one of the few. I know I want to be one of the few. Do you want to be one of the few? Do you want to make sure you're not one of the many, but you are one of the few? The disciples once asked Jesus, Lord, are there just a few? Are there just a few who are being saved? And Jesus said to them, strive to enter through the narrow door, for many, I tell you, will seek to enter and will not be able. Many will seek to enter and not be able. Once the head of the house gets up and shuts the door, and you begin to stand outside and knock on the door saying, Lord, open up to us, then he will answer and say to you, I do not know where you are from. Then you will begin to say, we ate and drank in your presence, and you taught in our streets. And he will say to you, I tell you, I do not know where you are from. Depart from me, all you evildoers. Go away from me, I never knew you. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth when you see Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all the prophets in the kingdom of God, but you yourselves are thrown out. Thrown out. There's a lot of people think they're in. And the point here is that Jesus is teaching they're not. They're not in. They're going to be thrown out. I don't want to be one of them guys. I don't want to be weeping and gnashing my teeth and thrown into outer darkness. How about you? How about you? And I know it's not just a self-declaration. I just can't declare to myself I'm in. God's the judge. I'm not deciding, he is. This ain't a declaration of independence kind of thing. You know, you can declare all you want. That's not going to make it so. Self-reaffirmations aren't going to make it so. And your faith, you know, it's not just a self-reaffirmation deal. That's not what faith is. Reaffirming to yourself that you're one of the few. Our faith is our response to God. Our faith is believing these words Jesus is saying and responding to that and realizing there's only a few. And many will think, you know, that they're in, just like these people he's talking about. And they're not. And that's why they're weeping and gnashing their teeth. Weeping and gnashing their teeth. And again, Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. And he sent out his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding feast, and they were unwilling to come. Again he sent out other slaves, saying, tell those who have been invited, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatted livestock are all butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention. They paid no attention to this call, this invitation, and they went on their way, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his slaves and mistreated them and killed them. See what that's about? Persecuting the children of God. But the king was enraged, and he sent his armies and destroyed those murderers and set their city on fire. Judgment. Then he said to his slaves, "The wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main highways, and as many as you find there, invite to the wedding feast. Call them to the wedding feast." Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered together all they found, both good and evil. And the wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. But when the king came in to look over the dinner guests, he saw a man there was not dressed in his wedding clothes. The white fine linen, that's the good works of the saints. It says so in Revelation 19. He saw a man there who was not dressed in his wedding clothes, and he said to him, "Friend, how did you come in here without your wedding clothes?" And the man was speechless. There's nothing he could say. Then the king said to the servants, "Bind him hand and foot, and throw him into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen." There's only going to be a few sitting at that wedding table who aren't thrown into the outer darkness. Friend, do you want to be one of the few or one of the many? I can reaffirm to myself that I'm going to be one of the few all day long. And that's not going to make it so, is it? It's not going to make it so. We have to strive by entering the narrow gate if we want to be one of the few. Jesus said, "Well, I find faith on the earth when I come." There's only going to be a few. Only a remnant will be saved. And, we can't be prideful and presumptuous. We have to be humble. And we have to be humbly serving. I don't know what's going to happen to me tomorrow or the next day or the next day. I have to leave my life in God's hands. I have to be responsive to the Lord and obey Him. Otherwise, I'm not going to hear those words. "Well done, good and faithful servant." As disciples, we're always learning. We're always learning. And, perfection hasn't come for any one of us yet. Jesus was made perfect through suffering. He learned obedience from what he suffered. And, unless someone's coming to nail you up on a cross, you're not perfect yet. You're not there yet. And we have to strive. We have to strive. Many are called, but few are chosen. And if we're prideful and presumptuous, we think we can just self-reaffirm what we want to be true, we're just deceiving ourselves. The only way that we're going to sit at that table is if we're honest and true to the Lord. That means obeying the Father's word of truth, Jesus Christ. God bless you.